Yeah, lately I've been hearing a voice, and it seems to be coming through on. It's not a frequency, but it sounds definite. It's a voice that I've heard. I would say it's God. You know, and I think that we hear many voices, and I think many voices try to pass themselves off as if they are God. But I was just watching Kevin on Etakers, who is a very terminally ill person. Like he's got latter stages of cancer. And I've been watching him for a couple months, maybe a few months going on. And just something about watching he and his wife Bridget, listening to them. There's some truth in the guy's voice, right? There's definite truth, and this past video that he did really just it clarified for me. I really don't think I'm ever going to walk away feeling like, oh, I agree with this person, or I'm right on point with this person, right? But I think there's something to like where you could look at someone and say, oh, that's a fair weather Christian, because they don't go to church, because they don't always read the Bible, because they adhere to a still small voice, sometimes a very booming and commanding voice, telling them, who they are, what they are, and reminds them how to get back on track. That's how I've been feeling lately. I think that the Bible and churches have obviously shown themselves to be extremely false, especially when you look at them in certain ways with an outcome in mind, right? A certain outcome in mind, but an agenda, right? But I mean, in this day and age, with really all these fake Christians, and it's almost like, I got to say it, to call yourself a Christian at all, why are you calling yourself that, right? The affiliation. It's like you're affiliating yourself with a lot of very, disingenuous people. The track record's not good. And my own experience, it's like the Christians that I've known have really been like covert devil worshippers, just agenda-based, craft-based. And you really feel like you have to go into some sort of war with them. And, they're oftentimes your family members and people that you never would have thought would have that type of hatred. And that's just their calibration. That's who they are, what they are, is what they've always been. So you get down to the fact that, that I've tried to impress upon people where, even this becomes a religion, and you kind of affirm certain ground rules for yourself and then back away from it and go, look, that's fine. It seems to have a certain substance, and even to say substance is too far, right? Because the true God that exists in you, for you, around you, and that you want to return back to, has nothing to do with this world. That the laws that are supported to have been picked up on, everything from these tablets from Mormonism to Rosicrucianism to the Ten Commandments, these are all man deciphered, man manipulated, and man redirected and reaffirmed edicts. They aren't written by the hand of God, because God wouldn't bother writing anything here. He'll tell you, and in so many ways. And it's like, oh, you have to go through literal hell first. And I mean, to say that this is hell, like, don't think that to assume this is hell means that this is the only sort of Dante's Inferno, right, phase or stage of hell, or that it can't get one heck of a lot worse. But what you desire, desire is even the wrong word. What you truly crave, even that's the wrong word, right? What you truly honor, and what you are, what you are, and what you want to return back to, that purity, that unadulterated purity, a purity that cannot be adulterated, that is really the only that's the only place that many people want to go. They want to return back into that, even if it means, and most especially if it means that all the rest is dissolved into nothing. So I've been getting a lot out of actually watching Kevin. Oddly, I think it seems like people have this morbid curiosity because all of his subscribership goes up when he's doing the worst, and you would think this is like pretty sick, right? That people are just being voyeuristic, but there's that morbid curiosity. But then there's also, I want to know what you think. I want to know what you're experiencing when you're sort of like Stephen King in a way, not to bastardize this, but looking into the deadlights, right? I want to know how you feel when you're looking into this sort of abyss. And when people come back and go, I'm not looking into any abyss. In fact, I'm the way that Kevin, so looking up EKE, I just looked it up. I don't know if he ever has, but it's a word that's based around modesty. It's to meet the ends, ends meet, MEET. It's not MEAT. I mean, a lot of these sayings get colloquialized and said in certain ways, but the intention, they mean relatively the same thing. But I put up a definition of that in the community post for people to see. But it's hard work that's, very, very little return, but it's making it surviving. And the way that he had just described his experience when they first purchased Etakers together and renovated it, and all the work that it took, the way he's describing it, it's like you're taking something, a diamond in the rough, and enough is enough. And they should really be proud of that place, in a good, positive way. Pride, it's never good to be proud, but in the sense that they should be, they are grateful. I think that there's no place for many of us on this planet or in these bodies or in a family. You realize that there's not a contribution you can make. There's no words, I think at a time people got by and thought, if I can keep my principles and practice my principles, my godly principles, and make something with my hands, or instruct, or really just creating some sort of utility with high quality, I can put these principles into the practice of what I make. And that can be my way of just impressing upon the world that, I'm going to refine and make this better, sort of a Fibonacci or Phi golden mean type stamp. I don't know. I only speculate. I'm not trying to tell people where to go, but I'm just saying, you can really get caught up in this Kabbalistic, it really is, it goes back to Dionysian and Thelemic type worship, and leads people back into this sort of samsara, this ever Ouroboros, right? This loop of just suffering, right? And we want to break free from it. And for those of us who really don't hold any temporal holdings in any high esteem. Even when we've had it, it doesn't fulfill you, and it didn't take long. It didn't take billions of dollars to realize that. But then you realize, man, I'm corrupt. What do I do now? I think a lot of people that began wanting purity, again, for lack of a better word, craving purity, they lost themselves on the way, and they felt like, I'm impure now, and then there's no way that I can return. And it's like, in a sense, that's the best way to know, is that there isn't a pure love between brothers, between sisters, between husband and wife, between father and son, right? Just like crafting a well-made, principle-based, constructed home, or woodworking, or doing a really good job blacksmithing, or however an artisan in their techne was to impress principle upon the items of the object before them, and to get better and better at doing it to the point where it was so refined that was the that was the ability that was passed on. That when you lose the reverence and the respect for the pure center, where the source comes from, you lose the meaning of why you're even trying so hard to make such a high quality object in a world that's just filled with carbon and death, really. So that is what we crave. That is what we crave, is to be able to do a job well done, and to return back to that, and to be able to put all of ourselves into what we do, and to eke out, and that is the term, to eke out a job well done, right? And to survive another day. And for many of us, we try to envision and are even asked, what do you want? And when you begin to look at all these different items, the things that you did in life, oftentimes you never wanted it. So how did you think it was going to turn out? You had a terrible relationship, but you never really wanted a relationship, right? This is kind of the dark, or the devil's trap, right? Where you end up feeling empty, and you feel this false representation of a holistic feeling, and it's not purity. And then later you realize that it was all a mask of lies and deceit. And while all relationships and really all the stuff, planned obsolescence, just falls apart, falls to pieces. Imagine how many well-constructed antiquities just have burned and gone back into ash, right? So purity is the mark, and eking out the best work that you can possibly do is the method at hand.